Can you explain how a central bank allows for big government programs to exist? It is the original sin, and it also is the operative initial ingredient. You cannot build a recipe of big government spending without a central bank. Can you please educate our audience on that?
Well, the whole thing is that if you didn't have the central bank, they'd have to get the money from somewhere. The people would have to loan the money to the government. They could borrow the money. And but now all they have to do, the principle, the economic activity is the monetizing of debt. But the Fed doesn't buy the treasury bills and the bonds directly, but there's dealers who are the middlemen. They buy it, and then the Fed buys them up. So where did the Fed get the money to buy these bonds? And that while they do that, they're participating in rigging interest rates for the benefit of the management of the economy. Oh, the economy needs higher rates. They don't know anything. It's really a monster. And so I would say that if you're serious about cutting back on militarism and wars, you have to go ahead and look into the Federal Reserve. And that's why I've spent a couple of years to find at least asking for an audit of the Fed so that they can look into it and see where it happened. When we have these international financial crises, they shift money around to trillions and trillions of dollars, bailing out their friends. And on the audit, one of the strongest arguments against the audit is I want to know what's going on internationally behind the scenes that's never recorded. And that's what they cling to the most. They don't want to let anybody know what the Fed does when they're bailing out people. I think, in a way, I'm really amazed that this thing lasts as long as it does, because it's all fakery. But eventually it ends. And the longer they keep propping it up and running up these debts. I saw a figure this morning about how much debt into the trillions of dollars that student loans are owed. They're never going to pay that back. It's just going to be written off. And it all is going to... See, I believe that all debt and all malinvestment has to be liquidated. The debt is there. It's too big. We're never going to pay it down. And the malinvestment, that is what business people do, and savers and every people does, where they're deceived into thinking, interest rates are 3%. That's a good time to invest in condominiums or some other business. But real interest rates might be closer to what the credit cards cost. If real interest rates be 9 or 10, I can't do this. But so it encourages bad judgment. And the interest rates is the most important price, and that is the price of money when it's loaned out of all prices. And as long as the Fed controls that, they're going to, the bubble keeps building. So it amazes me because it's a huge bubble, and it's starting to leak. And right now people are saying, it's all BRICS' fault. We got to curtail BRICS. They're going to undermine the reserve currency of the world, so we have to deal with them. No, we have to deal with our system, and we have to deal with providing a sound currency that deserves to be called the reserve currency of the world.
So let's just think hypothetically here. President Trump, coming as the incoming president, has a mandate to try to reform government. And I know that you don't agree with him on everything, but there certainly is that kind of energy. What could the president do to audit, to reform the Federal Reserve without Congress? Could the president do anything? Could he have a special Fed czar? Could he instruct Scott Bessent to look into this as Treasury Secretary? Could he send an Elon?
In theory, that's the case, but I think the system is much bigger than that because the influence there is so great. How many trillions of dollars are involved in the military-industrial complex? How many trillions and trillions of dollars involved in the banking system? And it would work. But I think they're sincere. I think they'd like to do it. Trump has said some encouraging things. But the obstacle is tremendously huge, and that's why I hold back on saying, "Oh boy, we're on the right track." And a lot of good things are happening. One of the other big beefs, of course, most libertarians and conservatives are annoyed with is the Department of Justice. At least we're seeing that exposed. And when the American people learned about what was going on with COVID, the American people woke up. I think there are good things going on, and I think that's what Trump could do the best is wake people up to this. Because one individual,
Yes.
It'd be nice to think all they do is wave a wand, but you have to have a consensus. The people have to have a general belief in what we have right now. If you said, "Oh, Ron Paul's president, he can do it," he's getting rid of the Fed. Well, it wouldn't work. You have to change the people's minds, and you have to let them know what's going on and why things are happening. But prevailing attitudes are very, very important. But basically, I think education, and Charlie, I know you know something about Austrian free market economics. That's
Yes,
why
that's right.
I'm very involved in doing that. They need to understand economic policy.
Well, and you and Tom Woods and many others were foundational in how I view a lot of these systems. And I think it's so important. If every young American was able to be schooled in Austrian economics, Chicago School of Economics, outside of Keynesian economics, we'd have a different country. And you understand that money is a finite resource and must reflect reality, that deficits do matter, that business cycles just don't go poof for no reason, that interest rates are how we communicate with people. These are fundamental truths to our existence. I think that they're harmonic with nature and the natural order.